This science experiment got way too freaky. The title Splice throbs onto the screen, transitioning to a lab where Elsa and Clive play God. They extract a biological package that immediately tries to die, a smart move, but they shock it back into a reluctant existence. They name the resulting blob Fred, because abomination against nature takes too long to say. They are terrifyingly proud of themselves. Fred, a pale sentient loaf of bread, is introduced to his tank mate. The two blobs extend fleshy flowers at one another. The scientists call this love, but it is just two slugs agreeing to coexist in a glass prison. Cut to corporate reality. Clive and Elsa head to a boardroom, clutching a magazine cover that proves they are famous enough to be arrogant, but not rich enough to be independent. In the meeting, the duo markets their slug children as protein factories. Elsa, suffering from main character syndrome, proposes adding human DNA to the mix. The board, represented by Joan, is allergic to ethical lawsuits and currently short on cash. She announces a boring efficiency plan: shut down the splicing lab and just harvest the profitable proteins from the existing slugs. Elsa storms out, shocked that a corporation prefers a safe financial win over her mad science experiments. Elsa and Clive decide that researching livestock diseases is beneath them, so they choose the natural alternative: severe ethical violations. Back at their lab, Nerd, they secretly attempt to fuse human DNA with animal material. The computer displays a montage of failures, because biology has standards, but Elsa refuses to let reality win. She forces the enzymes to bond, and the chromosomes finally ignite on the monitor. They have successfully played God. They haul the resulting sample out into a metallic tank and agree to put it on ice and discard it, satisfied with the moral victory of knowing they could do it. This sensible plan lasts for about 5 seconds. Elsa decides she doesn't want to miss the opportunity to create a monster. She runs off with the sample to the incubator room and locks Clive out of the lab, a move that screams healthy workplace boundaries. Clive eventually breaks his way back in, but instead of stopping this felony, he leans into the slide. He mutters a curse and presses the initiate button himself, mechanically inseminating the embryo. They have effectively signed a contract to destroy their own careers. And so the abomination begins to grow in the incubator. Upstairs, Clive's brother Gavin, who also works at the lab, asks how their research is going. He's blissfully unaware that his brother is currently building a Frankenstein in the basement. Elsa admires the ultrasound of the secret fetus with the warmth they usually reserve for a new puppy. Later, they return to their shared apartment, revealing that they are in fact a couple. They argue about real estate and music in a desperate attempt to pretend they are normal people, rather than mad scientists. Clive suggests they have a human baby. Elsa rejects the idea of a child as an intrusive third party, which is ironic given the mutant she is currently knitting together in a tank at work. Their domestic dispute is interrupted by a distress signal from the lab. The experiment is growing with alarming speed. They rush back to Nerd, where Clive performs an emergency C-section on the artificial womb. He is immediately rewarded with a high-pressure blast of amniotic fluid to the face. Biology has decided to fight back. The miracle of birth is immediate violence. The hybrid fetus bursts free and tries to eat Elsa, which is poor table manners. Clive traps the slime ball in a plastic container, proving Tupperware is humanity's best defense against genetic abominations. Clive suggests a mercy killing, but Elsa refuses. Clive caves because his spine is theoretical at best. Later, he tries to sleep, but harboring a monster in the basement is terrible for his REM cycle. They agree to terminate the experiment, a polite euphemism for killing the mistake. Dressed like discount astronauts, they approach the incubator to bag the result. But naturally, it's empty. The creature is running loose, smashing equipment to assert dominance. Clive decides to flood the room with gas, adopting a strategy that was historically popular in Germany for all the wrong reasons. But Elsa stops him, torn between survival instincts and her desire to bond with the lethal asset. Clive continues to insist on chemical warfare, but Elsa opts for a meet and greet. She removes her mask, ignoring all safety protocols, and offers her hand. The creature, a hairless biped resembling a plucked chicken, imprints on her. Later, they flood the room with knockout gas. Clive drags Elsa out, and they collect the sleeping body to poke at it while it is vulnerable. They analyze the specimen. It possesses a tail stinger, which Elsa optimistically calls a defense mechanism rather than a murder weapon, and its cells are aging at turbo speed. It will likely die of natural causes by Tuesday. Clive is relieved, but Elsa starts calling it she, which is never a good sign. Later, Clive hears scratching in the walls. The creature has woken up and is currently inspecting the HVAC system. Upstairs, the staff jokes around, dangerously close to discovering the massive felony downstairs. With the sounds from the vent about to expose them, Clive turns up the radio and dances to distract the employees. It is undignified but effective. Below deck, Elsa and Clive struggle to play house with the creature, which they now call H50. It screams and refuses food until they discover it has a sweet tooth. Elsa spoon feeds it sugar mush, with maternal tenderness, a heartwarming scene, provided you ignore that the baby looks like a shaved rat. Clive attends a corporate meeting where he is told the company needs profits, not science projects. He nods and lies about their progress. Meanwhile, Elsa stares at childhood photos, establishing unresolved mommy issues that will undoubtedly compromise her judgment later in the movie. A convenient montage accelerates the timeline. The creature grows limbs and heals its seams. It is now a toddler in a dress, turning the high-tech containment facility into a nursery for nightmares. Elsa teaches the creature to spell using Scrabble tiles. It spells nerd, copying the text on Elsa's shirt, but Elsa reads it backwards as Dren and decides to name it that. It is adorable, but also horrible. Clive enters and ruins the vibe by pointing out that letting a lethal hybrid roam free is a safety violation. As they argue, Clive's brother and co-worker Gavin hears the commotion. Suspicious about the secret experiment he is being excluded from, he goes to eavesdrop at the door. Clive worries about prison. Elsa accuses him of lacking vision. The debate ends when Dren pounces on Gavin as he enters. Elsa scolds the creature into submission, treating an attempted mauling like bad table manners. Gavin is confused, but alive. Realizing their cover is blown, they pack Dren into a cardboard box and smuggle her through the freight elevator. Elsa cuddles the box while Clive watches with the look of a man realizing his life has become a hostage situation. Later, Gavin correctly deduces that this entire illegal mess was Elsa's idea and points out that Clive is too whipped to say no. Clive returns to the basement, where Dren is burning up with a fever. The brilliant biochemists realize they have zero medical supplies. Their solution is to waterboard the toddler in a freezing industrial sink. It looks less like healthcare and more like a mafia hit. Dren stops thrashing and stares up from the bottom. I think she's dead. Apparently not. Surprise. The creature can breathe underwater. The tumors they found earlier were actually gills. Elsa's stunned by Clive's quick thinking. She assumes he is a genius, completely missing the fact that he was definitely trying to drown the thing after his brother's pep talk. Clive plays it off, accepting the accidental heroism. Later, Elsa gives Dren a creepy doll named Jenny, explaining she used to talk to it as a child. Dren accepts the plastic nightmare. Clive and Elsa retreat to their apartment to cuddle. They decide the best way to decompress is to clap in the safety of their home. It is a tender moment, immediately ruined because Dren is watching them through the curtains like a perverted gargoyle. Cut to a corporate auditorium. The executives present the original slug creatures to investors. Clive and Elsa put on suits and smiles, hoping no one notices they smell like guilt. The presentation is supposed to show the slug creatures mating. Instead, the organisms choose violence. They tear each other apart, shattering the tank and traumatizing the front row with a shower of gore. It is a PR nightmare. Clive and Elsa step in to explain that the female slug spontaneously changed into a male. It happens these days, it's 2025, come on guys. The board is unhappy. Investors generally prefer dividends to being covered in biological waste. Later, the illegal science couple decides their illegal hybrid needs a change of scenery. Specifically, they move Dren to Elsa's childhood home, a desolate property equipped with a barn and a lifetime of bad memories. They pack the creature into a shipping crate like surplus office supplies and drive her out to the middle of nowhere. Upon arrival, Dren immediately rejects the real estate and sprints into the woods. Clive notes that losing a genetically modified apex predator is a tactical error. They eventually find her snacking on a raw woodland creature. She smiles, looking like a feral toddler who just discovered the joy of violence. They drag her back and lock her in the barn. Elsa considers moving the creature into the main house, which is essentially a museum of her own childhood trauma. They tour Elsa's old room, featuring a mattress on the floor and the distinct ambiance of neglect. It explains a lot about Elsa's current mental state. While the scientists return to work to be scolded for their incompetence, Dren stays in the barn, growing disturbingly more humanoid. Dren passes the time by playing dress-up with Elsa's old things and catching a barn cat. She inspects the animal with the gentle curiosity usually reserved for a snack. When the parents return with vegetables, Dren is unimpressed. She uses Scrabble tiles to spell out tedious. It is a scathing review. The monster is now intelligent enough to be bored. Dren continues to communicate via board game, spelling outside to signal she is done with being grounded. Elsa refuses, so Dren climbs up on the roof of the barn and breaks free into the night air. She takes in the view, slips, and almost becomes a stain on the patio, but her back rips open to reveal massive wings. She recovers. Clive, swept up in the majesty of the abomination, tells her he loves her. Dren goes back and hugs him, clearly picking the parent who isn't actively repressing her. Back at work, the pressure is on to extract profitable proteins from the slug creatures, a task the team is failing at spectacularly because they're too busy raising a secret child in a barn. At the farm, Elsa ignores the work deadline to treat the mutant like a doll, applying makeup and projecting childhood trauma onto a creature with a tail. When she finds Dren sketching pictures of Clive and cuddling a cat, Elsa gets jealous. She confiscates the cat to teach Dren a lesson about misery. Dren is left shivering while Elsa drives away, solidifying her status as the villain of her own experiment. Later, Clive sneaks into the barn to comfort the monster. His solution to Elsa's strict parenting is a dance party. He puts on a record and they sway together in the dim light. The vibe shifts rapidly from father figure to crimes against nature. The air fills with a romantic chemistry that absolutely should not exist between a man and a biological weapon. Then Clive stops the dance, realizing that romancing the chimera is a legal and moral nightmare. The next morning, he somehow magically deduces that Elsa used her own DNA to create Dren. I guess because he wants to bone them both. It is a ridiculous intuitive leap, but he is horrified to discover he has been slow dancing with his girlfriend's clone. Or maybe it's like her daughter, I don't know. He confronts Elsa, who storms out to the barn to reassert dominance. She finds Dren perched on a high beam, staring down with predatory intent. The rebellious teenage phase has arrived, and this one includes a lethal stinger. Later, Elsa returns the kitten she previously stole, attempting to play the role of the benevolent mother. She tells Dren she loves her, mostly because she's her clone. Dren accepts the gift, plays gently for 3 seconds, and then stings the cat to death. The happy family experiment is officially over. Dren pins Elsa to the floor. Elsa responds by performing a hard factory reset on her own personality, switching instantly from warm mom to cold scientist. As she straps Dren to a table, Elsa decides the best way to handle a rebellious teenager is amateur surgery. She sedates Dren and cuts out her venomous tail stinger, placing the bloody trophy in a bowl of ice. Clive arrives to witness his butchery and asks standard questions about morality. Elsa dismisses him. She explains it's for safety, and also this fresh sample is exactly what she needs to finally synthesize the protein and solve their work problems. Dren is no longer daughter, she's a chemistry set. The 180 is crazy, this doesn't make any sense. Clive, ever the enabler, unbuckles the maimed creature and offers some confusingly tender head pats. While Elsa frantically works at the lab to salvage the careers with the new sample, Clive sits in the dark at home, watching spy cam footage of Dren bathing. Bro is about to goon. The next morning, their boss Barlow informs Elsa that the funding is gone and the project is dead. But Elsa interrupts him to deliver a reality check. She reveals that she has already synthesized the protein, and the results are sitting on her desk. She walks out of the meeting with the smug energy of someone who just won a game the other person didn't know they were playing. Meanwhile, Clive returns to the barn to find Dren, who is now winged and aggressive. She initiates a biological merger. Clive offers a weak verbal protest before surrendering to the least ethical clapping encounter in history. Clive engages and, dare I say, enjoys the moist biological merger. Dren's venomous tail spontaneously regrows to spice things up. Then Elsa enters the barn and witnesses this violation of nature, ethics, and basic hygiene. Clive responds with dignity by running away into the snow. Back at the apartment, Elsa's furious, mostly because her boyfriend cheated on her with a creature that technically counts as their daughter, I think? Goddamn. The argument shifts from infidelity to competence. Clive accuses Elsa of manufacturing Dren because she wanted a child she could control, like a Sims character. He admits they are terrible people who have tortured a living being. Elsa weeps, then pivots immediately to business. She reveals Dren has synthesized the valuable protein. Their morality is extremely flexible, provided the check clears. They decide to return to the farm and liquidate the asset, but Dren has the courtesy to die of accelerated aging before they arrive. It is a convenient solution to a complex problem. Elsa mourns the loss of her validation. Clive just wants to hide the felony. They bury the scientific breakthrough in the frozen dirt, executing a funeral that looks suspiciously like waste management. Clive burns the remaining evidence, hoping fire cleanses stupidity. Inside, Elsa finds creepy drawings Dren made of her this time. Then their boss arrives with Gavin, who has finally come clean about the truth. The boss checked Elsa's results, found the unauthorized human DNA, and is now demanding the profitable creature. Elsa points to the fresh grave. The corporate asset is currently undergoing decomposition, which is going to be terrible for the quarterly report. Suddenly, a loud noise interrupts the silence. Barlow vanishes, only to be found moments later decorating a tree. He has been violently disassembled. Then Gavin gets captured. It turns out Dren is alive, and I guess she's a dude now. Yeah. Just like how the slug creature switched from female to male. Clive and Elsa give chase. Clive, displaying his usual incompetence, drops the flashlight in a freezing stream. Nature attempts to drown him, but Elsa drags him out. Clive passes out for no reason, essentially deciding to nap in the snow while his girlfriend fights for her life. The pond bubbles. Dren rises from the water like a majestic Greek god. Assuming Greek gods are incestuous mutant monsters, of course. He chases Elsa down with ease. She's a scientist with a winter coat. He's an apex predator. This sounds like one of those women's romance novels. He pins her down. The creature, technically her son, I think, her experiment, and her husband's former lover, decides to complete the family trauma cycle in the most horrific way possible, by clapping. Clive wakes up from his nap and tries to be a hero. He stabs Dren with a sharp stick. It is a noble effort, but the stick is wood and the monster is angry. Dren kills Clive instantly. His subscription to life is cancelled. Elsa, realizing biology has failed her, switches to geology. She smashes Dren's head with a rock until the problem stops moving. The snow is now efficiently cluttered with corpses, leaving Elsa as the sole survivor of her own incompetence. Time skip a few months. The executive Joan is thrilled because Dren's corpse was full of profitable chemicals. In the corporate world, murder is just a line item. Elsa sits there, visibly pregnant with the mutant's offspring. Instead of being horrified, she accepts a payout to carry the next abomination to term. She looks out the window, having learned absolutely nothing. And then her boss hugs her from the back for some reason. Moral of the story? What the frickin' heck?